Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from the beautiful metaverse. And tonight we're going to talk about wands. And this is in response to a question from Margarita Brown. And Margarita, actually a comment from Margarita Brown. And the comment was, in response to my recent vlog on magical tools, Margarita made the comment, shouldn't your wand be made from your tree? And I thought this was a very interesting comment, and I've known people who did that. So I wanted to talk about this a little bit and talk about magic wands in general. And wands are an interesting subject because they're one of the first things people think about in terms of magical practice because of the ideas of the wider community. But in actual magical practice, they're not really all that common. And I want to say hello to Michael, and to Karen, and to Eric, and to Sir Ed, and everyone who is watching. Hello, hello. Um, I have a number of magic wands, and I use them on occasion. In the Corellian tradition, we particularly use wands in connection with the four quarters, and also for certain things like healing to help direct energy, and that's what a wand is about, directing energy. But they really are more important in, for example, ceremonial magic. They were important in the magic of the ancient world more so than contemporary magic. And hello to Gwendolyn Olympia Adams. And I wanted to show you a couple of the wands I have here in my office. And this is probably my favorite wand. And you can see why, because it has both a dark and a light polarity. I brought this back from Africa when I visited in year 13 Aquarius. And it's made of wood and crystal, but also some sort of clay that is used to join the crystals to the wood, but I can't say that I know exactly what. I never had a chance to meet the artisan who created the wand. This is another wand, which was the gift of my beloved friend, Pete Pathfinder Davis, the founder of the Aquarian Tabernacle Church. And you'll notice that this is a very simple wand by comparison. And that's going to be part of what we're talking about in this vlog. So Margarita brought up the idea that your wand should be made from your tree. And I have known wand makers who had specific trees that they had just for that purpose. In some cases, they had grown the tree for that purpose, and others they had found them. Rhianna Marie, who used to make wands for Witch School, Corellian High Priestess, Lady of the Enchanted Realm, lovely person. She made wands that were, hello to Sean Shed Quintus. She made wands that were basically lengths of wood with crystal and sometimes feathers and other things attached. They're very beautiful, but she often got them from particular trees under the hill, which is the old homestead of the High Corel family. And I believe she had some other trees she used for this purpose as well. Lady Bitterwind liked to patronize those same trees. I've known other people who had trees that they grew for this purpose, and one of my staves, and I have a wide range of staves, which are currently mostly in my storage space, but one of them was made from a piece of twisted wood that was grown that way using grapevines to cause it to take that shape. It was a gift from my father. And that's another way that a wand can be made. In that case, it's a staff, which is basically a big wand, but a small wand can be done that way too. When you're using wood, you can train it into a certain shape if you desire to do so. Historically speaking, wands have taken a number of forms, but wood is probably the most common one. In the ancient world, and historically also, they were also often made of metal. And in everyday society, the wand, or another word for it is a scepter, was a symbol of command. It was a symbol of the ability to enforce your will, which is part of why it's used in magic, and part of the idea of directing that energy. The scepter and the wand are the same thing. And if you look at historical scepters, they look very much like magical wands because in a manner of speaking, they are. When I was young and first moving out into the metaphysical world, the most common kind of wand I was encountering was wood, but with a length of copper wire, either coming up through the middle or wound around the outside. And at that time, there was a lot of feeling um, that there needed to be an element of copper involved because copper conducted energy and also was the metal of Venus. And for a number of years, copper was very common in magic wands in the English-speaking world. As I got a little older, it became common for people to make wands out of copper tubing. And very often, the hollow tubing would be filled with crystals or stones of a nature appropriate to the person who was going to use it. There'd be a crystal point at one end, and either another crystal point or a different kind of stone, or some other cap at the other end. They were often wrapped in colored cloth or leather. It was not uncommon for them to have elaborate stonework on the outside as well. They could be very beautiful. They were usually only, not more than a foot long, but occasionally they were longer. And for a long time, this was the dominant form of wand that you would see. I haven't seen one of them now for a very long time, but then my youth was rather a long time ago. But for example, my late wife used to make this kind of wand, and she would sell them in various metaphysical venues. Then we had Abby Willowroot, who did wands in silver and pewter and other metals, which made the metal wand come back into fashion very, very strongly in a sculptural kind of way. As opposed to the hollow tubing that was often filled with things, these were solid wands. They're very beautiful. They're still around. And Abby Willowroot, of course, was a famous artist, and so her wands were artworks in and of themselves, even if you didn't want them as a wand. They stood up as art in their own right. Then Harry Potter became very popular, and the wooden wand came back into popularity and has been popular ever since. It was never entirely gone. None of these is ever entirely gone. And I mention them to show that not only are there many ways to make a wand, but they come in and out of fashion. Another kind of wand that was very popular, and you still see, are crystal wands, where you will have a long crystal point that is used as a wand. And at one time, selenite was very popular for this, and those wands could be quite large. Were also often wire wrapped with other stones. And so there's this huge variety of possible ways that wands could be made. Another way that I've seen wands made is with a wooden base and clay to add features, similar to the wand I was showing earlier. So to go back to that original comment about making your wand from your tree, that's one way. And many people do that. A lot of people will look for a fallen stick that will be appropriate for a wand because they want to find a found object. Others will make their wands as incredible works of art. Others will look for just the right one to buy, and these are all good. There are people who will tell you there's just one way. I'm not that person. I will tell you that people are different, and therefore the way that you want to make or acquire a wand or any other magical tool is also going to be different. It's going to be individual, because what works for you may not be what will work for your neighbor. And this attitude is partly because I'm Corellian. This is the official Corellian attitude, but partly probably because I'm a Gemini. And I like variety. And I love the fact there are so many different kinds of wands that you can make. And if you look at my artwork, for example, shameless plug, the Third Degree book, which has just come out, there are a number of pictures in here that involve wands, and many of them are very different. And that is because I like that difference. By the way, anyone who's following the Third Degree book, as I just showed, the shipment came in, it's also been sent out, and I'm having people already tell me they're receiving them. So if you're waiting for a third degree book, it is in the mail and on its way to you, and you may already have it. Now, you can't see behind me. Well, maybe you can see that there's a little box in the back here. Not such a little box, but it's full of medium 365s, which have also come in and will be in the mail this week. Um, so books are going out, and we have a new book to get today, the Spanish language version of the First Degree Lessons. And this has been translated for us by our Spanish language translators. And it's a lovely book, the most lavishly illustrated book we've ever brought out. And it's available in several different forms with different price points for that reason. And I'm hoping that we will soon move on to additional Spanish language books. Watch for the Greek language version coming soon as well. I'm also working on bringing back the Common Book of Witchcraft and Wicca, and I'm also working on Ritual and Theory and Practice, both of which will come out in March. And so Corellian Publishing is very busy. But to get back to wands, for me, this is still the same message as my vlog on ritual tools. They can be great, they can be helpful, they can be beautiful, but you don't actually need them because you can direct the energy just fine by yourself. But a beautiful wand that touches your soul can also help you to be in the right state to do magic, to shift your consciousness to do magic. And that's also very important. So ritual tools have their uses. So I'm not saying they don't, I'm just saying you must never be bound by the idea that you must have them. And for example, the crystals, the woods, the other materials that might be involved in making a wand, they also have their own energy which can add to what you're doing. But again, it adds. It's not an absolute necessity to have it. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the vlog. We have Chancellor's Chat at the top of the hour for those who wish to attend. I will look forward to seeing at least some of you there. And I hope you have a lovely, lovely night. And until next time, may you blessed be.